Hello, everyone. We are back with another round of Turing Mock Interview series. I am Jose, tech lead at Turing, and I'm from Montreal, Canada. And at Turing, I work hiring the best engineer by helping them with the vetting process. I have more than 17 years of experience, and my expertise lies in JavaScript. Today, I will be interviewing Wagner for the role of an experienced Angular developer. And the question that you will be seeing today might not be on the interview that you might get, because the interview is different for each person. And also this question is more for YouTube purpose to demonstrate how the process would look like. Cool. As that said, let's get started with this interview. So hi, Wagner. First of all, how are you doing and how is your day doing so far?
Hi, Jose. I'm good. Thanks to ask. And my day is going so far so good. How is yours?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking too. So my first question for you is, I would like you to introduce yourself, okay, and tell me a little bit about your background, your professional experience, and then I will take from there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a full stack web developer, so I've been working in the web platform, building a web application for the past almost 5 years now. And also, I'm a more heavy on front end. I'll be full stack, more heavy on front end. I've worked with technologies like React, Angular, jQuery, vanilla JavaScript. Also, this project is also vanilla JavaScript. And yeah, and this is
cool. All right, cool. All right, so. Let's get started this and let me ask you about Angular, okay? So my first question for you is, what do you understand by Angular?
Okay, so yeah, Angular is this cool framework built by Google to help developers build a front end with more fast and more secure, and with less stress and problems that you would go by building them all from scratch and handle all of the common issues that you would have in Angular and front-end application. So yeah, there's this framework built with in mind to help developers and simplify their development.
Cool. And you mentioned you have experience with React.js as well, right?
Yeah.
How would you compare Angular with React.js?
Yeah, Angular it's like more like a full solution framework. It has most of the things you would want to in order to build on a front-end application. You have that, like the things to build the UI and the routing of the application to handle forms and all of that. You have it built in on the framework, but React it's like more like a lightweight library in comparison to Angular. So to achieve the same thing you would do with Angular, you need to add another third-party libraries with React. So, for example, to handle routing and state management, you can do it internally with React only, but for like a more complex application, you probably would bring another thing like Redux and all this stuff. But yeah, the Angular has more is more like opinionated tool. You can most of the decisions are already taken for you, so just go and start.
Cool. All right, and what are components in Angular?
So components is like this building blocks of any Angular application, and with components, every component is associated with a template, and template would be like this markup where this section where you can add your markup, HTML markup, and with components also you can build structure your application with around components. So the component have like the view part that is associated with the template, and the logic part and properties, and how you structure your application with like and control its behavior. So this is it. In every application, Angular application has a root component, and then you would like create an hierarchy of the component in order to associate one component inside another, and following this flow until you build your desired application.
Cool. And how we tie a template to a component?
Okay, a template and a component. For example, this inside a Angular component, you would, if you want to cite like a template, you can do it like using the template in a decorator. Every component has a decorator, and on the decorator has a property called template. You can add the markup there, or if you want separately, you can reference another HTML file and add the URL to that file in the decorator too. So you have these two ways of doing it.
Cool. All right. And how components are different from directives in Angular? Okay,
so basically components, as I said in the last question, like it builds like this building block parts of the application, and it has like behavioral stuff and also the viewing part of the application. And directives, it's more like adding a behavior to an HTML element, or adding if you want, for example, one example of one directive would be like, for example, this ng if you want to add some specific behavior to the component and the HTML element, you would use that directive. So there are specific type of classes built for you to add behavior, some common behavior, and that you would want. And you can also create your own custom directives also.
Cool. And my next question is also, how we compare Angular with React.js, because you have experience with both. That will be cool, right? So regarding the React virtual DOM and then in Angular incremental DOM. So what do you understand by, I would say, incremental DOM, okay? And how it is different from the virtual DOM in React.js?
Okay, incremental DOM is this library built by Google and to build like DOM trees, and we use it in Angular. It has some specific approach in difference from virtual DOM. In incremental DOM, like the DOM trees are like there is no, for example, intermediate DOM tree created. For example, in virtual DOM, they create these intermediate DOM trees so they can compare to each component. When it changes, it creates a new intermediate DOM tree, and then React would know how to know what did change, and then do the operations to add or update the specific part of the tree, the real DOM. So, but with the incremental DOM, it doesn't do that. It just updates whenever some data changes. It updates directly in the DOM tree. So you don't have an intermediate tree. So it's more efficient in that way, in terms of like has less consumption of memory, and it does that directly on the DOM. And yeah, I guess that would be the difference. But also the virtual DOM has some advantages, mostly in like debugging. It would be very useful when you have this thing in memory. It add more memory, but you have some advantages doing debugging, for example, and testing. It's cool.
Cool. And you mentioned that the Angular incremental DOM is tree shakeable, right? So why incremental DOM is tree shakeable?
Okay, every component, by the incremental DOM in every component is converted in a set of instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these instructions, for example, if these instructions help the framework know at compiled time what specific features of the Angular framework was used. So if, for example, some specific part of the framework was not used, it doesn't need to ship it. So you don't have trash there to make it like to make it shakeable. So that's the reason why it's tree shakeable, because you have this concept that any garbage, this tree shakeable concept is like you have, for example, some stuff that's not being used, so you want to remove it. So this with incremental DOM, since every part it knows by at build time which part of the framework was not used, it doesn't ship anything that it's not going to use. So that's the reason why it's tree shakeable.
Got you. And what are the mapping rules, okay, between the Angular component and a custom element?
Okay. Every component is built with properties and logic.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add these specific properties and logic to the component, it would get converted to custom elements and the way that like the browser does. So yeah, every property and logic of the component would get translated to the actual way of doing things in the browser. So this I don't know if I get the question right, or you want to add something there?
No, I'm cool. I'm good. Okay. Let's move on. So what's the difference between pure and impure pipe?
Okay. So pipes are these I would say entities in Angular that help you, for example, handle any processing. So you would want to do a process over some data and transform it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so with pure pipe, if you don't, the pipe would get called only when some specific parameter that you've indicated on the pipe or anything, some data changes, and it gets executed. So, but with impure pipe, it gets executed no, regardless of the type of the changes. So if you type, for example, in something on your keyboard, you would get executed that in impure pipe. But with pure pipe, only it's get called only when some parameters that you have specified has changed.
Cool. All right. So next question. Okay, what do you understand about the best practice, okay, for Angular, or sorry, the best practice for security in Angular?
Okay. Like for the Angular is like this full framework that helps you build your application. So one of the main parts of building one application is the security. So they have all of these, for example, parts like in security they have all of it figured out. So the only thing you need to do is like using the latest releases of Angular, making sure that you're following the guidelines that, for example, you will not use some specific part that was like fixed, that has an issue but has been fixed. So yeah, just make sure that you use the latest release of Angular and yeah, following the best practices of how to use those features.
Cool. All right. And my next question is, it's related to observables, right? So what's the difference between the behavior subject and versus observable in Angular?
Okay, so this behavior subject is one subtype of observable. Observable is like a generic thing or father, we would say, like the parent. And this behavior subject is like the most type of the observable, and you would want to use it whenever you want to use, for example, the next keyword and pass the data to the observable. And so if you want, for example, whenever you change something and to notify the others immediately about that, you would want to use the behavior subject. And the observable is like more like the parent class of the behavior subject.
Cool. And what is the locality principle for IVY?
Okay. The locality principle of the new IV engine is like the compilation is when it goes for compilation, it's like it only builds it only converts like the component and its template, so it does not look for dependencies. And yeah, so by doing this, it's only converts the code locally. So by increasing the efficiency on that and not looking for the dependencies.
Okay, cool. Another question. So what do you understand about two-way data binding?
Two-way data binding. So the two-way data binding is like, for example, you have your template and your component. So, and for example, if you change, normally the one-way binding is when you have, for example, in code, you go and change some properties on your component, and then the view gets updated. Because it's linked to the component. So the template is linked to the component, and that code, that data in component changed. So it reflects those changes. But with two-way binding, for example, you would want, for example, you can add input, for example, in your code in a template, and then by doing that, by typing, for example, some value, and you would automatically change from template to the component. And so that's the reason why it's two-way binding, because you can the data change. If it changes on the template, the component update those changes. If it changes on the component, the template will reflect those changes too. So that's the reason why it's two-way binding.
Exactly that. Cool. So next question. What's the difference between AOT and JIT?
Okay. Yeah, those are two ways of you would want to like compile code. And one way is like the default way is like with JIT and just-in-time compilation. It would be like it's a default when you run ng build or ng serve, and the code would get compiled to machine code at the runtime. So the browser would do that at the runtime. But the other option with AOT is ahead of time, that you would want to convert your Angular application to machine code at build time. So whenever you're running ng build, you would have this flag like -- AOT. So you would indicate Angular that you want to compile the code right now before shipping it to the browser. And your browser or your interpreter would not have to do that with the JIT.
Okay, great. Okay, and so what is ng on init? Okay, and how could we use it?
Okay, in Angular you have this like lifecycle hooks that basically they are because any Angular component has its life cycle. So it starts and it goes on to some changes, and then it dies or it gets destroyed. So with Init is like it's a lifecycle hook method that it indicates it's a scope where you can add some specific code whenever some Angular component was created. So it is a part if you want, for example, to initiate and add some code to do any specific task. Whenever your component gets created, that would be the place which you want to add the code and initiate anything else or do any specific task.
Cool. And my last question for today. Okay, I promise you. So, how to use Ng4 in a tag?
Okay, like this directive Ng4 is like some iteratable. So if you have a list of items and you want to iterate over that list, and with that create some dynamic part of the view or application, you want to use that. So the Ng4, you would go use it on the template, and you would, for example, with the star sign, and then Ng4 you would add equal, and then quotation marks and 2, and then you would add like let item, for example, in items, and then you would loop over those item lists, and in this then you would want to like wrap this thing, the template, the markup you would want to get repeated. So if you want to do it, for example, in UL list, and then you would add this code in between the opening and closing tags of the UL, and then the argument or you would add this Ng4 on the LE element, so it's going to get repeated. So that's it.
Cool. All right. My camera turned off. No. All right. So that's it for today, Wagner. So thanks a lot for having this time to talk with me today. It was really nice to speak to you, and to everybody else. Thank you for joining this mock interview series. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Please let me know in the comment section below if you want to see how we conduct the Angular practical challenge. Okay, we will be back very soon with more and many episodes like this. We're going to be covering many other tech stacks. Let me know in the comment section below what tech stack would like to be that we cover in this mock interview series. Until then, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you are not subscribed already, and see you in the next video. Take care.